thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, guys. That's right. It is Tuesday, August 27th, and today is National Peach Day. Yes, it's also National Pots de Creme Day and National Just Because Day. Just because. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above or down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. But kicking it off first, that's right, we have the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the man who loves to moonwalk in his socks. That's right, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte. You're not there, Rico?
Is Rico here?
Son of a bitch.
I was like, do we? I don't think we do.
All right, well, shit, we're going to go and roll right into the golden voice himself, Mr. Todd Denkin. He's the founder of DigiPath Labs out there in the great silver state of Nevada, as well as the founder of the Smuggleverse, where you can buy all of your digital dank. Here to tell you a thing or two is none other than Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you very much. Welcome everybody to Tuesday.
Yes.
And I have kind of an interesting story about Parkinson's disease, as Parkinson's patients are self-medicating with cannabis and they are seeing very good results. So the question is, does cannabis help treat Parkinson's symptoms, and why are so many people self-medicating with it? Well, that's what we're going to delve into today. Parkinson's disease, of course, is a terrible neurodegenerative disorder that severely affects one's movement. And since it affects the nervous system, movement, and body parts that are controlled through our nerves, patients with Parkinson's disease suffer from being unable to move as they wish, since there's no longer any body coordination. Symptoms of Parkinson's often start out very mild, though they all eventually progress. Tremors and shaking are a hallmark early symptom, typically starting out in the fingers and hands. Other symptoms gradually begin, and these symptoms include bradykinesia, muscle rigidity, impaired coordination and balance, changes in speech and writing, and overall loss of movement when the disease has progressed too severe. Parkinson's disease is the most common neurodegenerative disease in the world. According to the Parkinson's Foundation, it affects about 1 million people in the United States alone, and globally, around 8.5 million people live with this condition. Well, there are several medications that can slow down the progression of Parkinson's disease. Many patients have found relief in using cannabis as well. There's a growing number of clinical trials, studies, and surveys pointing to the efficacy of cannabis in treating Parkinson's disease symptoms. Just do a search on Google or check out YouTube, and you'll even see some incredible videos showing how marijuana impacts its symptoms, like this one. Scientists, doctors, and patients alike are all interested to know more about marijuana and Parkinson's. A recent study published in the Journal of Parkinson's Disease found that a third of Parkinson's patients turn to marijuana as well as coffee as natural aids to help them cope with the disease. More often than not, they also do not disclose this to their doctors in fear. And other natural aids that they commonly turn to include turmeric as well. Interest in natural sources of bioactive molecules documented here corroborates other studies indicating that people with Parkinson's disease to become active players in the design for their therapies. This offers an opportunity to further develop personalized treatments and promote patient involvement in healthcare decision-making, according to this recent study. It's easy to see why people are increasingly seeing cannabis as a natural health aid. After all, it has been used since ancient millennia traditionally. It's based on whole plant medicine that has little to no side effects other than the psychoactive characteristics. Cannabis is also not addicting and non-toxic, unlike other pharmaceutical medications. In addition, if weed is legal where you live, it can be easy to integrate into your lifestyle, especially to mitigate the other symptoms of the condition. Marijuana can certainly help mitigate many symptoms of this neurodegenerative disease and possibly even slow down its progression. You must remember that it can still interact with other medications. So consultation with healthcare providers is always best so that we know the right dosage, maximum efficacy, and safety at all times. Back in 2021, a survey conducted to poll patients diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Researchers utilized a cross-sectional based survey throughout Germany using a questionnaire that had developed themselves into 25 different questions, which sought to ask patients about their cannabis use for Parkinson's, their patient knowledge, as well as demographics. A total of 24,000 questionnaires were distributed, and 1,123 were analyzed from the 1,126 that were returned. And 90% of the 250 patients who were invited to join the survey responded. Among them, 15% were marijuana users, 13.9% were regular cannabis users, while 32.2% were considered just occasional. It was surprising that just 51% said they were knowledgeable about weed. Just 8.8% understood the difference between CBD and THC. However, over half of them reported that weed had a positive clinical effect on them. Our data confirms that ED patients have a high interest in treatment with medical cannabis but lack knowledge about how to take it, especially the differences between the two main cannabinoids, THC and CBD, explained Professor Karsten Boomen, the lead investigator and professor at the Department of Neurology in the University of Medical Hamburg in Eppendorf, Hamburg. Studies show that cannabis targets several mechanisms of Parkinson's disease to provide relief to patients. These may vary from one patient to another, but cannabis has been shown to help reduce muscle rigidity, tremors, mitigate anxiety and depression caused by the disease, improve sleep, and reduce pain, among others. Cannabis may also help treat dyskinesia, the uncontrolled involuntary muscle movements ranging from shakes, tremors, full body movements, which is a side effect of using conventional Parkinson's treatments for a very long period of time. All these said, there's still much more we need to know about cannabis and this disease. If you're interested in trying weed for symptoms for you or a loved one, we always recommend consulting with your healthcare provider. Ideally, they're knowledgeable about the use of cannabis for Parkinson's disease and may be able to offer helpful advice when it comes to dosing and consumption for whatever your specific needs are. Furthermore, we need stronger clinical data to back up the safety of said dosage as well as the cannabinoids in weed. Many elderly patients or those who are sick do not want to experience the psychoactive effects of THC. Why not? More data on weed's mechanism of action and variability of response will help healthcare professionals curate a more personalized treatment plan that can include cannabis together with other conventional medication. Like Jason Beck said, I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News. And do you guys know of anybody using cannabis for Parkinson's? I do, and I've seen really good results from this friend that I do have. And I think it's great that it's being explored more. What do you guys think? It seems like education, though, is the key. Like, nobody knows what anything is. So, like Saman says, smoke weed every day. Mm-hmm. Not only does education create good legislation, but education creates just knowledge for the consumer. They understand that this is not a drug, it is an herb.
This is great news. This is great news.
Oh.
This is a positive.
Great article.
Yeah. Now, Parkinson's, correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, that's the thing when like people uncontrollably shake.
That is correct.
Michael J. Fox had.
All right.
Michael J. Fox. Yep.
Yep. I
Yeah,
just wanted to make
that's
sure.
Muhammad Ali, famously, Michael J. Fox, of course.
Yeah, with Parkinson's, I mean, with Parkinson's and many other diseases, it's like exacerbated by like stress and like low sleep. And I mean, that's why cannabis really helps to regenerate, those cells in your body that have been deteriorated with sleep. It's like when you get sleep, your body can really heal itself a lot better, and cannabis definitely helps that. So that's amazing.
Todd, did this study specify a specific way of ingestment as far as the delivery method, whether these people were smoking it or having edibles or something like that?
Yeah, they did not. In fact, they said that was part of the conundrum, that they don't know which one works best.
Got it.
Oh, it's really people trying it themselves and figuring out what works best for them.
I would imagine that the quicker onset of the smoking, landing on your lungs versus eating it, I would presume that would probably be better. But who knows? And as long as you're consuming it, I guess it's you're gonna reap the benefits.
I would have thought it'd be like tinctures, like they use like with kids.
Sublinguals, yeah.
I bet that would work too. Yeah.
I mean, once again, shout out to Germany doing the work very quickly. Like, how many studies have we read about just this week that Germany's doing? And they're trying to push this research forward so quickly after legalization, and the U.S. is still just stalled. So I'm glad somebody's doing the work. I'm very disappointed that we are where we are and we're unable to do this kind of stuff. So.
Yarrow, you have any thoughts on this?
I don't see what the big deal is about muscle rigidity. I like muscle rigidity. I don't think we need to solve for that.
Yeah.
Yarrow's pulling out his
Well,
shit,
you take a pill for that too, Yarrow. So that's okay.
Exactly.
Nice, strong, hungry man in front of him. Nice, stiff.
Oh boy. Oh boy, you guys. No, this is great news. I'm glad that that cannabis is helping for yet another condition that many Americans suffer from, and hopefully
cannabis saves.
Hopefully, some people that do have some family members or whatnot that are suffering from this will see this and possibly try to administer some cannabis to try to see if that helps their condition as well. But
I had a conversation with my mom yesterday because my stepdad is dealing with the early stages of dementia, and we talked about that story where the neuroprotectant and the anti-aging in the rat's brain. So yeah, maybe we'll get my stepdad back to smoking pot.
Oh, that would be awesome. I know I sent that video over to a doctor that specializes in regenerative health, and he was like, "Wow, this is really, really, really amazing, and this is so good." So yeah, and if you haven't checked that out, make sure that you check that out too from yesterday's show. But on that, we're going to roll into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
That's what I offer.
All right, y'all. Up next.
Double wrapping.
Up next is the man known for smoking the best weed in the world, being the highest Republican in every single room. And today he has a very spicy headline for us. It's none other than the High at 9 News head honcho, Jason Beck. Lay it on us, Jason.
Oh, man, you guys, that's right. Oh, man, I could have told you this was going to happen. You guys don't ever want to listen to me, but nonetheless, DEA.
Agreed with you.
That's
we
right.
all agreed with you on this one,
The
dude.
DEA, they grant an administrative hearing, you guys. That's right, because delays cannabis rescheduling until after the election, you guys. That's right. Ain't nothing happening on Schedule 3. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration has scheduled a hearing on December 2nd for proposed rulemaking regarding the potential rescheduling of marijuana to a Schedule 3 from a Schedule 1, thus ensuring that the process will not be completed before the presidential election in November, you guys. I'm trying to tell you guys all this. The hearing date could put the entire rescheduling process in peril should Vice President Kamala Harris lose to former President Donald Trump. It should say win, but nonetheless in November. He could halt the process when he takes office in January, given that Trump has not committed to finishing rescheduling or stocked out much of a platform at all on cannabis reform. For that reason, the exact time frame of when rescheduling will be completed has been a hot button topic ever since President Joe Biden announced the initial move in 2022. Although Biden asked his administration to move expeditiously at the time, it took until April of this year for the Department of Justice to formally endorse the Schedule 3 proposal, you guys. The DEA stated in a notice published on its website that the hearing is set for December 2nd at 9 a.m. Eastern Time at 700 Army-Navy Drive in Arlington, Virginia. Anyone wishing to participate or testify during the hearing must sign up in advance, you guys. That's right. In a quote, DEA received numerous requests for a hearing. The agency said in the notice, the purpose of the hearing is to receive actual evidence and expert opinion regarding whether marijuana should be transferred to Schedule 3 of the list of controlled substances. T.D. Cohen, Washington Research Group, wrote in a note to members on Tuesday morning that the DEA hearing news, in quotes, likely leaves the final rescheduling decision to whomever wins in November. We believe both candidates are likely to let rescheduling advance, though we have more confidence in Kamala Harris than in Donald Trump. I mean, I don't know about all that, but okay. Our view
the rest of the country.
Our view is that the decision means President Biden will be unable to reschedule cannabis before the inauguration, Cohen wrote. And in quotes, by law, DEA must analyze all the testimony given at the hearing before it can act on the rescheduling. Failure to do so would leave rescheduling susceptible to legal challenge, and reviewing comments could take 3 months or longer. It could even push this process into late spring or summer, you guys. Still, cannabis industry stakeholders remained optimistic about rescheduling moving forward, and in a quote, a hearing was always a possibility, and we are prepared for it, said Dutchy Vice President Brian Barish, who also co-chairs the Coalition for Cannabis Scheduling Reform. Members of our coalition have petitioned to participate in any hearing. Now that the Drug Enforcement Administration has granted one, we expect to have a seat at the table, he says. In an additional quote, the Biden administration's review of cannabis has been expedited at every stage, and we remain optimistic that the proposed rule will be finalized this year, Barash added. Longtime cannabis industry attorney Brian Vicente said in a statement that law and science are on our side, and if we get a fair hearing, we win. We've waited 50-plus years for our day in court and can wait a few more months, Vicente said. This procedural hearing will allow advocates to showcase the data and fact that strongly supports moving cannabis to Schedule 3. I don't think there's any facts that support that, but okay. David Craig, Chief Marketing Officer at Nevada-based Illicit Gardens, gave voice to those who were hoping that rescheduling to the voice of rescheduling and the first major federal marijuana reform since cannabis was banned more than half a century ago, you guys, would be completed before the November election. And Craig said in a statement that while the DEA's hearing is understandable, that's right, it's also disappointing that the reform will be delayed further. Every day that passes without rescheduling is another day that businesses, patients, and advocates face unnecessary challenges. While I respect the process, the wait for much needed change continues to be a burden on those who rely on it, Craig said. Whoa. That's all of it? That's all of it right there? All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I could have told you guys this was going to happen. Ain't nobody going to get rescheduling, and hopefully Trump just comes in and goes over the top on the Democrats and pushes for descheduling, as Matt Gaetz just retweeted yesterday, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
It sounds like Donald picked up the phone and said, don't do this until after the election.
Right.
way. It'll look like a win for me.
Oh yeah, because
you really think that's what happened?
Yeah, get out of here, Todd. Yeah, get out of here. You're crazy.
You know what? I want you guys to keep your singular focus on how much you fucking hate Trump, because everything else is going over your heads, and I love it. I'm fine with it. If you want to just sit there and hate this man so much that you make terrible decisions for this country, go right a fucking head, because at the end of the day, like,
somebody sounds
it doesn't matter. No, it
sounds triggered. Nobody said anything about hatred right here.
It goes both ways.
Todd's just bringing up
talking about him killing the immigration bill for the election.
Todd has major
everything bad is Donald Trump's fault. Everything bad is Trump's fault. But I'm going to do it. I do it both ways. When Jason gets off on Kamala about being a woman, about blah blah blah, I'm like, no, focus on the facts.
Nobody said that.
Plenty of reasons to hate folks.
Your undying love for him is equally as disturbing as my undying hate for him. So,
I don't agree with everything that the man does, but I also don't think that everything bad that happens in the world, if it rains today, I don't think Donald Trump called God was like, yo,
I don't think so either. I was merely making a joke in reference to his border.
And you know I love you, Todd, but I don't think he could pull this one off.
I don't have any hatred. I don't have any
love.
That is it. I don't have any hatred at all.
I can't disagree.
In my heart for anybody, let alone Donald Trump. I just think it's hilarious. The way that both sides are straight up liars and they can't be depended upon, and we keep on seeing the get kicked down the road. Like, oh, I don't want to do this because it'll interfere with this. Nah, man. Like, people's lives are at stake.
100%. 100%.
Lives are at stake. People's livelihoods are at stake. And Todd's comment was valid, because that's exactly what he did on the border deal. And Jason brought it up. Well, nobody said Trump. Nobody said Trump until Jason brought it up at the end of the story. So dangling that bait out there. So it is what it is. So you can't jump on Todd for that. Jason did that.
It's not just Todd. It's everybody that's on both sides, and it's so ridiculous. Like, I don't know why we're still talking about cannabis as a top issue, because it's clearly fucking not for the powers that be and the people who are going to control this election.
100%.
Well, I think,
and I do love Todd. I just hate his politics.
I think the people who control this election, are actually our viewers and the people who go to the polls. I think that what we see already, and to Jenny's point, is that neither this administration or the previous administration, and neither of the proposed administrations to be, have prioritized doing much on this. And this article, and by the way,
Trump's done a lot on this, actually.
Well, let me finish my riff, ramble, and rant. So shout out to John Schroyer on this, because I love to criticize his articles when it's applicable, but he's been pumping out some great content recently. And I also really appreciated his quotes and who he got quotes from. Brian Barash over there at Dutchy. I think he's head of their governmental affairs. Great guy. Awesome if you ever get to meet him. Super smart, super bright. So I really appreciate the article. But what the article pointed out was that the Biden administration slow-rolled this process, and that the Justice Department, even after the Biden administration proposed it in 2022, the Justice Department didn't get sort of out of the gate until much, 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 much later. So if the Democrats really felt that this was a priority, they would have moved the ball much further down the field to be able to claim some measure of victory going into the election, and they didn't do that. Now, the next thing, Trump, and whether Trump is going to do something around cannabis because he's the feisty maverick who's not beholden to the swamp, or whether he's or whether he is just a pontificating blowhard who likes to activate the base, including Jenny Dill, and then do less than he says he's going to do. So I think that you have to remember that history is the best predictor of the future. Trump already had 4 years and didn't do much in that 4 years. So the idea that he's had some... I'm talking about in terms of cannabis reform. I'm talking about in terms of cannabis reform.
He did do a lot. I'm going to give you a quick rundown just because you obviously have amnesia.
Put my S on my name.
Yeah, you obviously have amnesia, Yarrow.
Yeah. Okay. She's not a pickle, bro.
Well, first of all,
I have Parkinson's with rigid muscle.
Multiple fucking pickles. Get it straight.
First of all, he passed the First Step Act, was a major step in criminal justice reform overall. Secondly, you also have the Farm Bill, which legalized cannabis, and look at everybody selling THCA now. And third of all, he also included cannabis in USMCA, which is NAFTA 2.0. And so therefore, Trump has done way more than any of these Democrats have even done, because all they do is provide lip service.
Kamala Harris provides lip service.
Yeah, and arrests.
Whoa. We're not going to go into the limo. Stay out of the limo, back up. Let's talk about the story. And the bottom line is that this reschedule was exactly what we fucking said it was, a shiny carrot to distract us from what else is going on. So I'd look at tax policy. I'd look at foreign policy. I'd look at things that are really, truly going to affect the safety and the security of this country in the next 4 years and vote based on those.
And I look at lip service on my shiny carrot.
I bet you do.
But the thing that I think is really, really important here is that let's just get back to the dynamic this industry has suffered from for many, many years, which is it's the redheaded stepchild so desperate for attention and validation and normalization that anytime there's a bright ray of hope, no matter how dim that bright ray is, we all grasp onto it and hold on to it like it's the next best savior for the industry, whether it's safe banking, whether it's a descheduling or a rescheduling. The truth is most policymakers who are not passionate about true cannabis reform know that they can just give us a few little crumbs that we'll get really optimistic and hopeful. The whole little ecosystem will talk about it, and then a lot of nothing burgers come from it. And so if history is the best predictor of the future, we'll be having a variation of this conversation after either president is elect. Candidate is elect.
Yarrow, let me toot my own horn for a second here. I've been saying it since Jason Beck was calling for safe banking every fucking month. Ain't shit going to happen. These people do not care.
They do not care
at all.
you.
I said that the first 7 times they said they were saying they're going to pass safe banking is right around the corner. Jason talking about, I've got somebody in there, and I know big things are coming. It's going to happen next month.
Bro. It's going to be with the crypto bill.
Same thing with this whole rescheduling, descheduling thing. It ain't going to fucking happen. We'll be lucky if it comes through in 2025.
Well, it's a good thing everybody waited until crypto fully fucking tanked out. There was another mass dump last week, so check your crypto. I don't think that's going to be helpful either.
Well, I'll tell you what. We do want to thank the C word with a big old super chat who says Trump ruined the market by flooding it with THCA.
Oh boy,
that's funny. That is pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
You a big fan of the THCA hemp product, Jay?
I'm a big fan of the THCA hemp product. Yeah, it's like one of the greatest legal loopholes on the planet.
Yes.
You know
Shout out to Spray Pack.
That makes you smart.
Yeah. I'm about
using those loopholes.
What it makes us look like incompetent because we're just
Speak for yourself.
Allowing this to happen. No, there needs to be one system. We need to get away with this bifurcation.
I'm fine
of these
with
two
it.
Systems, create one, and just move on so that there is no loophole. So this becomes commerce.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine. There already is commerce. We got it. We got it. We'll work with the loopholes, but nonetheless, we're going to keep this train rolling.
No, I'm with what Saman said.
Of course you are.
Oh yeah, burn it down.
Yeah,
y'all have your faith in this bullshit
we got
government. Ain't nothing gonna happen ever.
We're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into the dope dad himself, who's a little tardy today, but that's okay because he made it today. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. And I appreciate y'all rolling with my technical difficulties I had over here. And now that we've had some spice out of the way, I'm going to turn the temperature down just a little bit and report on a little bit of good news. A little bit of positivity coming out of the East Coast. Now, according to MJ Biz Daily, Cannabis Social Equity Trust Fund in Massachusetts is flush with more than $27 million, according to a funding update first reported by State House News Service. The fund's total balance, according to the state's Executive Office of Economic Development, came largely from the first full annual transfer of marijuana from the Marijuana Regulation Fund, which occurred February 1st. 15% of the Marijuana Regulation Fund, which is financed by adult use application and licensing fees, as well as state excise taxes, is earmarked to bolster the Cannabis Social Equity Trust Fund. Per the article, the full annual transfer of $27.4 million, followed by an initial transfer of $2.3 million in December 2023. Those responsible for the fund faced pressure in 2023 when critics noted that it remained empty nearly 2 years after its creation. But something changed over the past year, and Massachusetts lawmakers passed language to resolve an issue that prevented money from being transferred into the trust fund. I wonder what happened. We'll talk about that in a second here. As of June 30th, 2024, the balance of the trust fund was $27.3 million, reflecting funds paid through the Immediate Needs Grants Program, which launched in February. The INGP provided $2.3 million in funds to 50 Massachusetts social equity and economic empowerment businesses licensed to by the CCC through individual grants, ranging from $20,000 to $50,000, equipping recipients with critical support for outstanding business expenses such as debt service, payroll, professional services, regulatory fees, and rent. On another positive note, the Massachusetts Executive Office of Economic Development and the Cannabis Social Equity Advisory Board say that they plan to continue the INGP. Can we get a round of applause for that, man? Getting money to the people who need it most.
There we go.
Yeah. According to the annual report, the two agencies are in the process of developing a second round of financial assistance with a stated goal of, quote, ensuring the full participation of entrepreneurs from communities that have been disproportionately harmed by marijuana prohibition and enforcement. So what caused the CCC to make such a drastic change over the last year? Could it have been circumstances surrounding the ousting of former Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission chair and former state treasurer Shannon O'Brien, where it was alleged that she had been regularly making racist remarks and mistreating former staffers? And you remember that story when all that shit got out? He kind of swept that in under the rug, and all of a sudden, $27 million appeared out of nowhere. I don't know. Are O'Brien's replacements attempting to make amends for the office's past sins that have come to light? Who knows? And at this point, who cares? Massachusetts Social Equity just got a $27 million shot in the arm. That's a win in my book. Big love to all that will be benefiting from that. And let's hope that most, if not all, of the funds are utilized in a manner that are helpful to the recipients. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News.
Rico, you know the next story that we cover about this is going to be how this money was squandered by different politicians and whatnot. Like this, it's a good story today, but what's going to happen is going to be sad.
Yeah, let's see who's administrating these grant funds and who's administrating this funding. Because
this is exactly what happened when we made the good news story about Missouri and how they were doing everything, and then like literally the next day.
Yeah. So don't worry. I'm sure I'll be here to scream and curse about it if it unravels. I mean, I think that we just need to be very careful. There's been a lot of really well-funded social equity funds, and then they give it to a group to administer those funds who fucking squander it. And that is absolutely ridiculous. They're telling you get a list of things that you can use it for, legal, licensing, blah, 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 build out. And then you submit your proof of your use of funds. They don't approve it. They don't give you the money. There's now 3 disbursements. It's like insane.
In this case, it's supposed to go directly to the recipient. So let's hope that happens. In this case, it did happen with the first round.
It's supposed to go to the recipients via who?
It always goes directly
it's supposed
to the
go direct.
recipient.
It's a direct grant. The money's supposed to go directly to them, and hopefully that is how it's going to go down. And
problem is
if it does, like I'm a big fan of it, and I'm just saying like this is positive today, and hopefully it stays positive. And I hope the funds get distributed before they find out where that money came from, because it went
right, and it always goes
$2 million to 27 million in a matter of months.
Go ahead, Todd. Hold on a second. Go ahead, Todd.
I'm just saying part of the problem is they're only giving out between $20,000 and $50,000, right? I mean,
that was the first round. That's when it was $2 million, and now it's $27 million. So it was 2.3 million that was originally distributed, and they were saying like, why has the fund stayed empty over the first 2 years when old girl was when old girl was the chair, and then all of a sudden 27.4 million is in there now. And
I got a few things.
So what are the loans that they're giving out now? After that
hold on. Let me jack this thread.
Yarrow, 1 second. Let me just announce this, because we did get another super chat in from Ben LeBone. Thank you so much, Ben. He says hashtag deschedule or bust. Go ahead, Yarrow. It's all you know.
All right. So first of all, the additional $24 million came because they had to change some laws on the legislative side in order to get the rest of the funding in there. So I'm not going to say that when there's smoke, there's fire, because the article does indicate that there needed to be a change outside of the executive branch in order to complete the rest of that funding.
If you will.
Secondly, I'm a big advocate for these programs. I think that they are the equivalent of cannabis economic stimulus programs, where it doesn't guarantee that every business is going to win or thrive, but at least it it seeds the industry because those monies are typically spent on equipment and consultants and taxes and fees, and all of that really churns that money. It doesn't just stay in these social equity applicants' hands. It doesn't just go for swag or stupid things. It gets spent in the economy. So it really is a proper economic revitalization model, in my opinion. Thirdly, as a recipient of cannabis grant funds, I can tell you I've taken a lot of heat because I don't look the way people think social equity is supposed to look. And I just have to say, this is not reparations. It is specifically, typically targeted for people who have either borne the brunt or been 1 degree of separation away from the brunt of the effects of prohibition, which is not just black and brown, although primarily black and brown. But a lot of people get this thing conflated because it is not going to right the wrongs of 300 years of slavery or persecution of people or Jim Crow or pre-civil rights or even what's going on in America today. Lastly, the biggest problem with this program is the source of funds, not the use of funds. So these programs deserve to be well-funded, continually funded, with less restrictions on how these people can deploy this money to support these fledgling businesses. But if you tax the industry to support the industry, that is like crazy because you're cutting over here to give over there. We know that the government can come up with money for programs that are priority, but tax the industry right out of the gate to be able to support the industry, it makes no sense.
No,
I disagree. I could not agree with you more. And we need to tax these heavily polluting industries, the ones that are fucking up everything, and make the money come from them.
Sounds like you're talking like RFK right now, Rico.
Like,
I don't know.
Talking about China and India.
Right,
No, I'm talking about these big chemical companies. Yeah, I'm talking about these big chemical companies that are producing all these PFAS that they're having a big issue with out in Massachusetts too. Like all these other industries that are getting these huge Donald Trump tax breaks. They should be taking some of that money and funding the people that are most in need. And Yarrow, like, don't ever think that you don't look like social equity, bro. You look straight up like social equity, man.
Yeah, it's not because you're white, it's because you're rich, Yarrow. It's not because you're white, it's because you're rich, Yarrow. We love you. Listen, I think that I disagree that we shouldn't tax the industry to support the restorative justice portion of the industry. We have all of these. We complain about Chads all the time. We complain about MSOs all the time. People coming in from other industries, spending their dad's, trust funds on cannabis. That's cool. But the people who are coming in and are new to this and are not true to this, did not fight these fights, did not do that, should in fact give back to the people whose backs and shoulders they're standing on to be able to make the money that they make today. So I think that it's perfectly fine. Like, I love what Oakland does, where they make social equity operators get incubated by a regular operator. That's a requirement of your license, is you incubate someone who is a restorative justice social equity applicant. And I don't see a fucking problem with that.
Yeah, we'll call it quid pro bro. And
that's
cute.
Now that's a policy I can get behind.
So I will give you a case study of the problems with incubation if we have just a nanosecond, which is I am incubated in San Francisco, and in exchange for that incubation, these people got permit priority processing for their retail. The problem is they haven't completed their raise and their build out, and so my incubation permit is sitting there hovering really and going nowhere, and I cannot change my incubation agreement, and I cannot move my approved permit to a different location. So the problem with an incubation is you are completely dependent upon the performance and outcome of the company that is incubating you, and in the event that they either shit the bed, move too slow, or end up going in a different direction, as an incubatee, you are basically shit out of luck.
So you mean that maybe we would have to evaluate our partners a little bit better and kind of make better. I mean, it's not your fault, and that fucking sucks. I'm sorry you're in that situation, Yarrow, but that's why I'm saying, cool, take the tax money, have them pay taxes on that, and take that money and funnel it into the social equity community. Because a lot of incubation doesn't work because a lot of those people are fucking scammers. That's why we see the same people incubating something such in kitchen and taking the money and never incubating the people with it. So we know what the fuck happens, and that it pisses me off. You know what I mean? So yeah, ride off in the Jeep once again in the nice suit.
Let's just hope that the Jensens don't catch word of this.
Oh boy. We're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back. The Network Show is coming back to LA September 18th and 19th. Make sure to get your tickets now for the only B2B licensed flower trade show in LA. With its previous shows selling out, you'll want to act fast so you don't miss out on over 150 of the best brands and distributors throughout California. The network show captures and ensures an intimate, focused environment for California's most influential brands and retailers to join forces in the true spirit of the legacy operator. So head over to www.networkshow.co/ticketing to reserve your spot and start cultivating connections at this year's network show. All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it, you'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show will be up on our website in probably about an hour or so. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
As long as the criteria are not raised.
We're back, Rico.
Up next is Sebastopol Sage himself, Mr. I am the embodiment of social equity, riding around and getting it every single day. But today he's in the studio ready to break us off with some second half heat. Yarrow, second generation cultivator Kubrin.
They're mad he used his money on a new booster seat. That's why they're upset.
Oh, very funny. Very funny. You're a one-trick pony. All right. So my article today, Tuesday, August 27th. Thank you, Hi at Night viewers, for tuning in. My article today is hot off the press from MJ Biz here in the last 24 hours. And it is from the dumpster fire that keeps on giving state of New York. So without further ado, New York won't process 2023 adult use marijuana applications until 2025. New York regulators won't finish reviewing applications for adult use marijuana business licenses submitted late last year until next year. That's the timeline by Felicia Reed, the acting director of the state's Office of Cannabis Management, or OCM, during an interview last week with Spectrum One News. There are still 600 applicants from the so-called November queue of retail and micro business hopefuls that remain to be evaluated. Reviews will continue until, quote, early next year, Reed told Spectrum. Applicants from the December queue, which consists of cultivation permits, will wait even longer. Those applications will be reviewed on a rolling basis after the November queue is completed, Reed told the New York City-based news outlet. The latest estimate contradicts an earlier, more hopeful promise from OCM Chief Operating Officer Patrick McKedge, who told the State Cannabis Control Board earlier this month his agency would complete its review of last year's queues by the end of 2024. And it's all well behind the initial promise to applicants that the state would decide which applicants would receive licenses by early 2024, which obviously has come and gone. Reed took over management of New York's marijuana industry in June after initial OCM director Chris Alexander resigned on the heels of criticism from Governor Kathy Hochul that preceded a scathing audit released in May. One problem the audit identified was understaffing. The OCM has 65 unfulfilled positions, including at least 13 vacancies on its licensing review team. But nearly 4 months after the audit's May 8th release and 2 months into Reed's tenure, that situation hasn't changed. The OCM still has 65 vacancies and remains woefully understaffed, Reed told Spectrum News. Okay, let me just kick this off. I love that the person who's responsible for the department, who has 65 vacancies, is telling the news that she's woefully understaffed. That's like, why don't you just admit in public that you're not doing your job? Secondly, it reminds me of the county of Mendocino that had the lowest permit processing rate of any county in California and was eventually put under state receivership because they couldn't do their job. And thirdly, show me any business, show me any company, show me any entity, show me any team that is 65 people short that can actually do a good job. You won't find it. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News. I'd like to know what the rest of you think.
Hold on a second, Yarrow. You're telling me that you think that New York could do a better job if they only had 65 more employees. Is that what you're telling me? That's just why the New York is so screwed up, is because they're short 65 employees?
I'm not saying that's the reason why.
Hold on, Jenny. Let Yarrow speak.
I am not saying that is the reason why. I am saying that is a factor in their current situation and the lack of more tangible progress in that state.
But it easily could be the other 100 and whatever number of employees that they have that are just not good employees, or, incapable, insufficient, all of those different types of verbiage.
Yeah, but you know how hard it is to get rid of a government employee, and that's why we have the problems we have.
They get rid of them by elevating them and giving them a
get out of here, go, move forward. Exactly. That is typical of our politics, and this is why we have the shitty situations that we have.
But here's the thing, right? It's simple math, right? Bear with me, because my dad was a math teacher. If you take the number of applications divided by the average hours it takes to process an application, divided by the average hours of a process application or permit review position, you can back into knowing how many staff you need to be able to process those applications in a certain period of time. You back into what you need in terms of a team to be able to process it so it doesn't go from 2023 to 2025. Then you hire faster, right? If you've been in the job for 2 months and you still have 65 vacancies, filling the seats with qualified team members clearly is not as high a priority as it could or should be.
Also, I'd like to say that as time goes on, you should be getting better at your job, especially getting better at doing these faster. So if you see a decrease and not an increase, there's an issue, and it's we can't point fingers. It's the people that are running the office that are directing those employees to do their job. That's how it works. So, it's clean this shit up if you're paying attention.
Those people are too busy defending their own fucking positions. You know what I mean?
In the nature of not pointing fingers, I want to point a thumb and say that, and Jason, you can point a thumb too, because me and you are the only ones saying that they'll be lucky if they get the shit figured out by 2025.
Exactly.
Okay. We'll point that thumb, but I'm going to finish my point because I've been cut off 18 times. So.
Go ahead.
Thumbs up here.
I mean, you do plan on cutting off too, so it's okay.
100%.
All you women want equal rights.
All right, shut up. This is enough. So, I mean, I think it's the quality. I don't think it's the quantity. And shit rolls downhill, but I don't think that it's the downhill employees who are sitting there doing their daily processing job. It's easy to train those people. I mean, give me enough time. I could probably train a chimpanzee to effectively check through non-merit-based fucking cannabis applications. So I don't think that this is an issue of understaffing. It's an issue of improper staffing. I think it's an issue of those at the top spending more time covering their own asses and protecting their jobs than figuring out how to do them effectively.
Do you know how strong a chimpanzee is? He will rip your arms off, woman.
We're going to be friends. He's going to understand. I'm not a threat. I'm just helping,
and on that, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
Fuck chimpanzees.
Gee. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi. We're back. Coming up next, that's right. She's got that southern twang, and she's going to tell you about a thing or two. That's right. That's right. Here to prop up Yarrow. That's right. It's none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good morning. Happy Taco Tuesday. All right, so we're back to the DEA because, yeah, they're doing their thing. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency has not ruled out the possibility of arrest for marijuana use in Ohio, even after the state's legalization of drugs for recreational purposes. Despite Ohio and Michigan permitting recreational marijuana, it remains illegal at the federal level. The DEA emphasizes targeting major drug traffickers, but acknowledges that federal agents could technically arrest individuals using marijuana legally under state law. DEA spokesman Brian McNeil clarified that while the agency is not primarily focused on individual users, marijuana remains federally illegal substance, and arrests are possible. However, such enforcement is typically left to local authorities. McNeil highlighted that marijuana is still classified as a Schedule I drug, oh, you think? Alongside LSD and heroin, while substances like fentanyl are Schedule II due to limited medical use. The DEA is launching an initiative on college campuses in Ohio and Michigan, focusing on education and resources rather than enforcement. This effort targets young adults who comprise a significant portion of drug-related emergency room visits. The agency aims to inform the demographic about the dangers of drug misuse, especially with the rise of potent synthetic drugs. McNeil also noted the increased potency of THC in marijuana today and the risks associated with black market purchases, including potentially dangerous lacing with fentanyl, which fiscally makes no sense. The DEA's outreach is designed to educate rather than scare, moving away from past tactics and focusing on informed decision-making. So first of all, they're saying their tactic is not to scare, but they're warning about fentanyl-laced marijuana. And let me tell you why that doesn't make sense. Unless you're a fentanyl dealer and you're also a weed dealer and you're using the same scale and you have really poor cleaning practices, fentanyl is not getting in your marijuana. Why? Because weed is cheap. Fentanyl is not. So those things don't make fiscal sense, and I'm sick of the fear-mongering around fentanyl. It's terrifying and just scaring people from things that could keep them off of drugs, which will contain fentanyl, and the overdose factor is not helpful. Also, I think it's interesting that this is a very big duh article for me and for all of you guys who have been in this for a long time, right? Colorado, we first started, we knew as soon as recreational was legalized that we were still at risk of federal prosecution. We knew as med card holders, you were liable for prosecution up to the first day you got that for every gram that's ever run through your card. If you have a key badge for every day since you got that key badge that you legally were proven to be working in this industry. So yes, it is difficult and it is still federally illegal. Until we change that, these articles aren't surprising me, but I will throw it back to you guys.
I think it's interesting that the DEA decided to come out with a statement.
They had to say something because they weren't talking about rescheduling, so.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, I wonder why other parts of the DEA don't, in different jurisdictions don't come out with similar statements, and why it was only coming out of the Ohio region.
I don't know.
They'd be swagging out there. They'd be swagging heavy out there in Ohio, man. Just saying.
Is that what it is?
Maybe they're mad about the Michigan game.
They're definitely still mad about the Michigan game. That is 100% for sure. I mean,
yeah, they'll never not be mad about that shit, man. Like, I hate that the DEA is taking up 2 stories from us today. But I
see what you did there. That was cute, Rico.
You like that? The death to the DEA, man. Defund the fucking DEA. They have nothing better to do than just annoy people at this point.
I mean, if they focused on fentanyl and things like that, if they focused on
that'd be a noble cause
for sure.
And so let that be their swan song. Let that just be the fentanyl enforcement agency, the FEA.
That's right.
Let them focus on that shit.
They couldn't be the border patrol.
They couldn't be that. They couldn't be that, bro, because they'd be the FDA, and that agency already exists.
They'd be the border patrol.
FDA. Fentanyl enforcement agency.
No, you can't change more than one letter, bro. You just change in one. You drop one, switching it.
That's what I did. FEA.
Very good, Jason. All right.
Jason. You okay today, Jason?
I'm fucking great.
That weed strong. That weed strong.
I'm great. I'm great.
Best weed in the world.
Yes.
I feel like they're just like scrambling to really explain their reason for existing at this point, and I stand corrected. Like maybe they should focus on fentanyl, but we all know if you follow the money, they might get blocked if they get too high up and see where all this fentanyl is coming from and how it affects the rest of our supply chain too and our international relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got no faith in them at all.
Rico, who put crack outside the hood?
George Bush knows the answers.
You mean who put crack inside the hood?
George Bush got the answers. Ronnie
CIA.
Reagan. Ronnie Reagan knows what's up. Jason's hero.
Mm-hmm. You guys ready to roll? It's time to go to the next story.
Let's do it.
Did I get too close? I got too close to a Jason text for him. He's like, we gotta get out of here, guys.
Stop the cap.
Yeah. Shout out to Iran Contra and making your wife do the dirty work of saying just say no. Anyways,
God.
Taking us home today is a patient advocate, 15-year regulated market industry vet, fellow dope dad, award-winning solvent extraction pioneer, and these days he's helping menopausal women take their finger off that pause button and push play again. Say hello.
Wow.
Saman Razani.
Hello again, everybody. Happy Tuesday. We have another story out of New York. Surprise, surprise. New York's just, dominating the headlines. New York cannabis regulator hasn't increased staff for months after blistering review lead to hotel overhaul. The state's cannabis regulators have made exactly zero progress to increase its staffing level months after Governor Kathy Hochul, or Hochul, however you want to pronounce it, began tearing the agency apart. Felicia Reed, acting executive director of the Office of Cannabis Management, said in an interview with Spectrum News last week that her understaffed agency now employs 180 people. That's the same amount of staffers OCM employed in April, according to a blistering report Hochul commissioned to point out some failures of the cannabis regulator. We're going to prioritize hiring and training new staff capable of strengthening key agency operations. Fill senior roles focused on agency operations, customer service, internal controls. Hochul told reporters at a press conference announcing what she called an overhaul of the agency she previously described as a disaster. Not so much faith in her own system there. Oops, excuse me, guys. 1 second here. One sec. I lost my article. Where's my article?
How do you lose your article, bro? You're scrolling.
It'll come back. You can say hello again.
It's over under that rock behind the trees.
Aw, you guys, come on. Okay, just bear with me. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we're over here bearing.
All good.
Man,
I know everyone's just like excited to hear another.
And read it.
No, I got you right
here.
Okay.
Seems like someone's rolling a blunt, Todd.
We're gonna be here for a while.
Yeah.
The Post reported last month that a number of OCM senior employees were leaving the agency, including key staffers focused on health and safety, licensing, and legal matters. Chris Alexander, then head of OCM, resigned a week after Hochul delivered her report after previously telling the governor he planned to stay on through September. A spokesperson for OCM didn't provide the comment on why the agency hasn't retained and recruited the additional 65 positions the April report said it still needed to fill, but noted that the agency's director of health and safety is no longer leaving. What a plus. They also said OCM has 60 hires in process. Only 15 vacancies were shown on the state's job listing as of Sunday. The state of cannabis management has taken critical steps to improve core agency functions by initiating a robust hiring and recruitment process while making existing structures more efficient, Hochul spokesperson Miguel Arreola told the Post.
Oh boy.
What a name. Governor Hochul is continuing to work in collaboration with OCM leadership to take the agency into its next phase and transform New York's cannabis industry, he continued. Reed's administration last week coincided with another strange move that has left cannabis insiders scratching their heads. On Friday, Empire State Development released a request for proposals indicating it was contracting out administration of a $5 million grant program meant to reimburse some cannabis dispensaries for expenses related to opening up their business. A spokesperson for the Empire State Development said it's assisting with the program on behalf of OCM and is contracting out the work for efficiency, end quote. We expect respondents to propose admin costs that are competitive and reasonable, which ensures we reserve more funding to award the eligible small businesses, the ESD spokesperson said. Sources told the Post the $5 million for the grant is being repurposed from a previously announced loan program for dispensaries that was supposed to be overseen by the Dormitory Authority, but never got off the ground. And it seems like that is the end of our article today. So I don't know. We've heard a lot about this stuff today, but like none of it's very clear. I don't know what's happening in New York. It just seems like a clusterfuck. Not surprising, but at the same time, is like, look at the people in charge of these systems. Look at the people who we not only elect, but that we entrust with like, you know, the passing out and the disbursement of like even something as simple as the licensing, even something as simple as an approval process. I don't know what to say other than God help us all. This is Saman Razani signing off.
I know what to say.
Oh boy, here we go.
I know what to say.
Go for
There's
it,
a deep and bitter irony that the people who are criticizing are the people who are responsible for what they're criticizing.
Right.
Kathy Hochul, whatever, started this when she criticized the people who she put in place and criticized her own administration. Exactly. Then this lady, last name Reed, criticized the hiring while she's in charge of the department who's supposed to be doing the hiring. I think that's called shooting the horse you're riding or something like that. But it's also a culture. It's also a culture thing, right? Fish rots from the head down. Leadership is about ownership, and ownership is about taking the hits, especially when they're not comfortable. And the buck stops at the highest desk in an organization. And until people adopt that cultural, that organizational culture, there will be nothing but buck passing and deflection. And so it's not enough to criticize the problem. It's not enough to summarize the problem. You have to be the change you want to see. And if you have 65 seats that are empty, that has to be your priority. And it doesn't take that long to hire. And so you either outsource that to a company, or you put some people in charge of that, or you set a goal and work backwards from that timeline. But these people who are criticizing the job that they and their compatriots are doing, I don't understand how they think that's going to get them closer to a regulated system that works. I think what they're going to do is turn around and then they're going to start blaming Eric Adams, and then they're going to start blaming the bodegas, and they're just going to go through sort of a Gatling gun of shooting out blame to wherever blame might be worthy, instead of just doing the job and doing it better than the last person.
Yeah, that's right. Don't feel sorry for people that, you know, are dealing with problems that they create. That's what that's how I feel about it. But I don't see this getting better, and I see it just continuing to be just a mess. And I don't even know how you're supposed to really try to engage or try to like put resources toward a state like New York when it's just such a clusterfuck. But hopefully there's some silver lining. But respect to all the operators in the Northeast putting up with the nonsense and continuing the good work of the cannabis farmer.
We all know it was a bunch of lip service and window dressing as soon as she said, like, we're going to get this thing fixed. We're going to be doing this. We're going to close down all these stores, blah, 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 blah. And then she started to blame it all on Cuomo, and it was all her staff who did all of this shit, man. Exactly. And this is like no knock on one party or the other. There's no knock on Kathy Hochul or anything about her personally. Like, this is what they do, period. This is what people in charge in America have a propensity of doing.
Oh boy.
Is what I say. Let AI run the whole thing and burn the rest.
I feel like there's too much agreement going on right now because we're all in consensus. So let me just say this, right? Just like Trump is probably a mole for the Russian government, I think these regulators are probably a moles for the trap in New York.
Guys, there's the best
I think he's more of a wart than a mole. But
hold on, go ahead, Saman. What are you saying?
I said the best reggae song. Look it up. Called Well Done. Well done. Well done. Well done, Miss Politician Lady. You do a great job selling out your country, but you still don't pay me. That's how it go.
Oh,
you could have said that in your normal accent.
Hey! Why you hating on the Jamaican accent?
Jamaican accent I've heard today.
Saman,
I'm half Jamaican, man.
Saman, you need to work on your Jamaican accent though. It could be.
Come on, bro. Why you hating on
Persian? It's the Persian portion of the island. It's a very small enclave.
Jamaican.
I call it Aladdin Rasta. I call it Aladdin Rasta, guys.
Oh boy.
Yes, they own the rental properties. It's
right near the beach.
Let's roll, Rico. These guys are getting too crazy today.
I'm dead.
All right. Yeah. Thank you all for joining us for another spicy Talk About It Tuesday episode of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans getting their comments posted live on the bit screen. We had the C word today.
Yes,
we had
Ben LeBon.
Ben LeBon.
Yes.
Big Ben.
Yeah, getting their comments on the big screen announced live by the team. We appreciate y'all and your healthy contributions. We'll be going directly to Jason's Wagyu cold cut and Dasani Water Fund.
No, Dasani Water is trash. It's disgusting. Yeah, Voss.
Big shout out to everybody else supporting us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry, to our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and Jamaican accents, opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media partners, all the sponsors keeping the lights on and AV struggles to a minimum. Big shout out to Catalyst for housing us in this studio and Anna's joint, where you can always get the best food any day of the week. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason why we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you too, baby girl. It has been Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. The show's over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, America's #1 daily cannabis news show. And today we're going to pop this thing right back out to the Jamaican dreamer himself. Saman Rastafari.
Just
don't jerk your chicken on in front of us.
Yo, just make sure you guys are getting plenty of clean air, clean water, and clean vibes. Much respect and love and peace in the Middle East. Let's hope.
No.